Be right back.
Yeah, there's Bobby.
Bobby's in the wrong place.
I'm in the right place now. How's everyone doing?
Good. How's it going, Bobby?
Good. Good evening.
Good.
Isabel says she's running a few minutes late. Carla is not feeling well, so she won't be here tonight.
Okay. Nina.
Nina should be here.
And David?
David has resigned from the board.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. So which alternate has replaced David? Or has there?
That has not officially taken place yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I think we now are all here, less Isabel, who sounds like she'll be joining a little bit late. So we are at more than a quorum, so we can get going. So welcome everybody. We'll get the meeting started right now. As was just noted when we were noting all the members who are present, I did just want to point out and thank David Chow, who informed us since our last meeting that due to work obligations, he can no longer serve on the board, so he resigned. So I just wanted to acknowledge in this meeting, the service that David has provided and thank him. And we'll miss him. So with that, we can get going and take an attendance. Linda, if you want to lead the attendance here.
I'll do the roll call.
The roll call? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Seth Roy,
Here.
Michael Aronson,
Here,
Nina Aaron.
you're
You're
You're muted.
Yeah, you muted. So I'll note that Nina is here, even though she's still muted. Robert Balker.
Present.
Eric Talbot is not here yet, though I expect he will be here soon. Isabel Nguyen is also not here yet. All right. Ulysses Castillo.
Sorry, I was having trouble with a pop-up.
Yeah.
So I'm here.
Yes. Ulysses Castillo.
Here.
And Carla Christine Gibbon Aaliyah is not today. She's going to be absent.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get going right now. I think the first item on the agenda is just the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. So has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? All right, I see thumbs up. So with that, can we have, and I think we have enough folks here who were at the last meeting, right? I know Michael, you were not.
right.
But I think that the other four on this call currently were. So
No, I don't think it was at the last meeting. It was at the last work session, but I wasn't at the last full meeting in June. Correct, Jaime?
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
okay, then we may need to wait till the end of the meeting to approve those
Yeah.
minutes, because then we would only have 3. Thanks, Bobby. I forgot about that. That was our one live meeting in the last, I think our second in-person meeting in the last 2 years. Okay, so we'll hold off on that, and then then we can move on then to new business. And the first item of new business on the agenda is Planning Board 0719 for 81-89 South Highland. Jaime, can you just kind of give us a brief overview here of what we're looking at?
Yeah, so a letter was submitted by Daniel Patrick of Cuddy and Fader LLP. The applicant is requesting a 90-day extension to the final subdivision approval that was granted on March 22nd of 2022. The applicant has submitted a proposed, so one of the issues that's holding up is they need to get approval of their planting plan. So the applicant submitted a proposed planting plan, which has been reviewed by the arborist, and it's back to the applicant now, just waiting on revisions from them. Eric Talbot is here now, so I'm going to bring him over as a panelist.
All right.
And so that's really it. They are asking for a 90-day extension because that's the maximum they can get under our code. So it's a little different than all of our other ones. Linda, I know you had mentioned that you might be looking to try to propose a
Yeah,
change.
actually, On subdivision, so this was only approved 90 days ago. Because your approval, under your code, the approval is only good for 90 days. Under New York state law, under the enabling statute, it actually provides that conditional final subdivision approval is good for 180 days. And with 90-day extensions. So that's one of the things we're gonna look at in your code. And if that were the case, if you had 180 in your code, they wouldn't need an extension yet. But your code says 90, the resolution says 90 because it's in your code, so they need an extension.
Okay. So why don't we bring the applicant in, and they can just let us know where they are with everything. Maybe we can look at this request.
Bring in Dan Patrick.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We got you. Floor is yours.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Jaime, and thank you, Linda, for the brief synopsis. I think you guys did a good job of summarizing what I was going to say, so I'm not going to go on too long. But as indicated, yes, we are seeking a 90-day extension of the final subdivision approval. We have just received the comments back regarding the landscaping plan. We're updating our plan. We're going to submit those probably later on this week or early next week, incorporating those changes. We are also working on getting the necessary bonds in place for the water and sewer extensions, as well as the right-of-way improvements that need to be done. So we're hoping to have that done. I think 90 days should hopefully be enough time to accomplish both of those. But as indicated, we are hopeful that you guys will extend to give us a little bit more time. And in addition to the final subdivision extension, we did also submit a letter on June 30th requesting an extension of the tree permit approval. Looking at the zoning code, it looks like there's a 120-day expiration unless this board deems otherwise. So we just wanted to confirm whether or not that tree permit or tree removal permit was coinciding with the timing for the site plan application. If not, we just respectfully request that also be extended till February of next year, so it is consistent with the site plan approval, because we're not proposing to take down any trees and do any construction. We're not proposing to take down any trees until we are geared up for construction and we're able to replace the trees with the development that's proposed. So
just Jaime, I noticed that Isabel is in the attendees list. If you want to bring her over. Linda, what is the status as far as the tree permit? Is that something that we would need to extend? How is that?
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of this issue, so I haven't looked at it. Sorry, dropping my pen. But Jaime, do you know, does it expire 120 days?
First that I heard about it. So I was not aware of this issue either.
Let me take a quick look.
I think that when the tree permit was passed, it was done as a part of the final, subdivision. It was sort of
Subdivision or site plan?
No, it wasn't done with site plan. It wasn't actually dealt with their site plan. So it was tacked on to the final subdivision. So I think that, if that is the case, then maybe it makes sense to sort of extend that permit. So it doesn't, lapse in that short period of time.
Are there any
yeah, I'm
issues?
looking at section, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to provide this citation. Yeah, it's section 248-15 of the village ordinance. That's where I'm getting the 120 days, but it does say unless otherwise specified by the approval authority. So I think, if it was implied one way or the other, we're just trying to cover our bases if it was not implied or if it was not clear anywhere.
Linda, you think, if we're going to look at providing the site plan extension and the tree removal permit was tied to that extension, if whatever extension we grant today, could we just add an extension add a condition into that extension that it applies to the tree permit as well?
Yeah, I would just, because I don't have all the resolutions, I'm not gonna take the time to look at all the resolutions now. So let's just grant the subdivision approval extension together with an extension of the tree removal permit.
Okay, so as a single vote as a single determination by the board, or should we
Yeah.
separate from that? Okay.
That can be one.
Okay. Board members, any questions on this application?
Just to clarify, this is the first extension that's being requested, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any limit on the number of extensions?
So here we go again. Your code has a limit. New York state law, that was used to have a limit that was taken out years ago. Technically under your code, yes, but that's one of the things we're going to be looking at making consistent with New York state law.
And what is that?
What is the limit?
I think, Jaime, it's 290s, right?
I have to go back and check.
I think it's 2 90-day extensions. But
That's correct.
state law used to be 180 days with 2 90-day extensions. But it was amended to be 180 days with unlimited 90-day extensions.
Got it. Any other board questions? Okay. I think, can we open a public hearing on this request? A motion from the board?
Bobby Valker making a motion to open a public hearing.
Michael Aronson, second.
Okay, I heard Michael second. Any objections? No objections, the motion passes. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public to speak to this application, this request?
No.
I don't see anybody. There's no hands up. And Jaime, you've not heard anything from the public otherwise, emails or anything.
Let me actually, I believe I did hear one email. Although it may have been, I may have been looking at it all, the email from old. Yeah, no emails.
Okay.
Sorry. I think we got an email on the last time they came for an extension request. This
Got it.
for a different component.
Okay.
Was this actually noticed as a hearing?
It was not. No.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
say extensions don't have to have a public hearing.
Thank you for that clarification. But we are in a public hearing, so, and nobody here there's nobody here to speak. Can I have a motion to close that public hearing?
All right, Talbot, I make the motion to close the public hearing.
Bobby Valker, I second that motion.
Any objections? No objections, the motion passes. The public hearing is closed. So I think at this point, we have enough information to take a vote on the extension request. So can we have a motion to approve the extension request, keeping in mind that we're along with the extension request, we're considering that this will also extend the tree permit.
Can I ask a quick question? Just will the tree permit be extended for the 90 days of the subdivision, or is there a possibility we can extend that to February 23rd of next year? That way it's consistent with the site plan approval.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort of recommend here that you just give the 90 days, just because we need some time to go back and figure out. Like it wasn't brought up unfortunately in the letter, and I don't think anyone was prepared to do it. I think that we can sort of at your next opportunity to come in front of the board to request an extension for whatever it is, we can figure it out at that point.
Yep.
Or if we need to have
I
a
just
follow-up, letter to the board to deal with it another time.
Okay.
But it was,
No, I just want to make sure
it was
we're
written to
tracking our dates correctly, that's all.
Yeah, no, I understand. The tree permit language was written into the final subdivision decision. And so I think we need some time to, go back and internally discuss how to sort of bifurcate those two components.
That works. Thank you.
Okay, so I actually want to be clear now, Jaime. So, and this is, I guess, the question we asked before, to be very clear, we're making a determination on this 90-day extension request for the site plan approval. Would we be folding in the 90-day extension for the tree permit, which was issued with that site plan approval as well? And
it's not for the site plan approval, sort of subdivision approval.
that's what I apologize.
And so yeah, it would be a 90-day subdivision approval. The tree permit was integrated. The decision on the tree permit was integrated into that subdivision approval. So I would say a 90-day approval of the subdivision with the tree permit as a component of that subdivision approval.
Got
So,
it. And since you just articulated it, can we have a motion from the board?
Michael Aronson, motion to grant the 90-day subdivision extension incorporating the tree permit removal extension.
A second.
Bobby Bowker, I second the motion.
All right, and we'll do a roll call.
I
And
mean, are you doing the roll call or am I?
Yeah. I'll do the roll call. Seth Roy,
I,
Nina Aaron,
No,
Bobby Bowker,
Aye.
Ulysses Castillo,
Aye.
Michael Aronson,
Aye.
Eric Talbot,
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen.
aye.
So that's 6-1.
all right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Very good. Very good. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda. And of course, my agenda fell asleep. So we're up to Planning Board 09-2021. This is another extension request for 5-9 Water Street. Can Jaime just let us know how this stands?
Okay, so pursuant to a letter submitted by JB Hernandez of ARQ Architecture PC, the applicant is requesting a 6-month extension to the application of the site plan approval, conditional use permit, and the parking waiver. The BAR approval does not require an extension, so it was mentioned in their letter, but they don't actually need a extension to that. The board should inquire as to why the applicant is only requesting a 6-month extension when a 1-year extension is available, just to, in the off chance that they're not ready in 6 months, you're gonna have to deal with this again. So, you may want to inquire with the applicant why they only want 6 months.
Okay. And just before we bring the applicant in, if we don't have a satisfactory answer to that, are we able to move this to a 1-year extension? Is that something we could do in this meeting, or is that something that they would have to reapply for? Or
No, I don't see. Linda, maybe chime in here, but I don't see any reason why you can't grant a 1-year
Okay.
extension.
You can do it.
Okay. And just as this came up in the last extension request just now, this is not noticed for a public meeting, this extension request?
No,
Public
it's
hearing?
not required to be, and it's not.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's bring the applicant in.
JB Hernandez.
Okay.
And I think there's another person here that's part of that group, but I want to ask him to advise. JB, is the applicant here with you?
Oh, no, just myself.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, we should ask for 6 months because we were about to submit. We had a preliminary demo permit to explore some of the work being done at the job, and we didn't make it quite in time, but we plan to submit within the next couple of weeks. But I have no objection to 1-year extension, so that way we are in the safe side. We don't anticipate needing it, but I think it's probably better as year extension.
So, what's your readiness at this point? You think you'll have work permits within the next month or so, you're saying?
We're gonna apply within the next week.
Okay.
So, the process, let's say it may take a month to get the permit review and approved. So we expect to be well on our way with construction within a couple months, but either can be a year, or if I need I can come back in 6 months, or it's only one extension.
And what's the limit to is this a two extensions is the limit regardless of the duration, Jaime?
Correct.
Yeah.
2 1-year extensions.
Right, but if we were to approve a 6-month extension, would that usurp one of their extensions? So they would only be allowed one more up to a year.
The language says that it's 2
No.
1-year extensions.
Okay,
Yeah, it says for a total time of no more than 2 years.
got it.
Okay, so if the board is okay with it, then if I can change the extension to 1 year, I might as well, better be on the safe side. And I don't anticipate needing it, but if I only have 2 extensions, 1 year each, then I would prefer that.
Board members, questions?
I'm okay with that. I think it makes sense to err on the side of caution. If you're available to get the year extension, might as well take it if it's available to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
I'm okay with that as well.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I am as well.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, I guess the request on the table now is for a 1-year extension. Do we have a motion from the board to grant the one? So I guess the other piece is we are looking at both the I just want to be clear what the extensions, because I know Jaime, you articulated this a moment ago, site plan, conditional use, and parking. So it's 3 separate extensions that they're looking at. So we'll handle them one at a time. So I think if we can start first with the.
You can do them all in one resolution.
You can, okay, great. Perfect. So then can we have a motion to approve those 3 site plan, conditional use?
Yeah.
And waiver?
Bobby Bowker making a motion for a 1-year extension for a site plan, conditional use, and parking waiver.
Nina Aaron second.
And Jaime, can we do a roll call?
Yep. Seth Roy,
Aye.
Ulysses Castillo,
Aye.
Michael Aronson,
Aye.
Eric Talbot,
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen,
Aye.
Bobby Bowker.
Aye.
Nina Aaron.
Aye.
That's 7-0.
Excellent. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
JB.
JB.
thank you.
All right. Okay, so our next application is a new project. This is BAR project 07-2022 for 13 Ryder Road. It is a front yard addition, and Jaime, if you want to give us any other relevant information on this one.
So the applicant is seeking a BAR approval for a 2-story front yard addition. The applicant is proposing to replicate the existing materials on the house for the new addition, including a fieldstone veneer on the 1st floor, wood shingle siding on the 2nd floor, and white Anderson windows and Spanish tile on the roof.
All right. That sounds good. So if we can bring the applicant in, we can let them present the drawings, photographs, and kind of go through the project.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask the applicant to raise their hand. Because I don't see the applicants. Let me just, give me a second here. I don't see the applicant.
Okay, well, if they're not here, then we can move on, and hopefully they'll show up before we're done, and we can bring them back in at the end of the agenda. Okay, that's fine. So then we will move on to that was it for new business. We're going to move on to continuing business, starting off with Planning Board 18-2021 for 2 Sherman Place. So Jaime, maybe you can just give us where this application stands.
Yeah, so 2 Sherman Place is the applicant is proposing a site plan for several businesses that are currently in operation at the site. So in order to accommodate the parking requirements, the applicant has proposed parking both inside and outside of the building. The board should consider the following. Number 1, the proposed action will be classified as type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act under section 617.5C18. And the board should consider whether the fence as proposed is appropriate, particularly on the side facing the residential lot, which recently received a BAR approval for a 1-family home. So.
Great, so let's bring the applicant in.
All right. We have Jose Cotto, who is here representing the applicants. And let's see if anybody else is here. Their side. Mr. Cotto, you take yourself off mute.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, are you with the applicant? Is the applicant here today?
He says he's on the phone.
Okay, is he 914-826-7221? Is that him?
I believe so. Yes, that must be his home number, yes.
Okay. All right, I brought them in.
Yep, so I guess if we could start off with Mr. Cotto, if you could just go over what's changed to the site plan since we last took a look at this proposal.
Well, I was involved in the initial part with the zone map change, the recommendation by the village. We've been working hand in hand with the village on that. It was approved a year ago, and then they said they needed a site plan for the additional offices. We made the application, and to be honest, the architect, Mr. Bonfila, has been more in touch with Mr. Martinez regarding this. Jaime could attest to that. All I know is that we presented the plans for the parking for the vehicles. They're indicated on the map. I believe you have that in front of you. And what to comply with the local law, we had a parking space added to the front with the fence, in front of the fence. But that's the extent that I know about it. I think Mr. Bonfiglio, if he's on the phone, could give you more details on that.
Yeah, it would be helpful, I think, both in terms of the kind of explaining how those additional parking spaces are coming in, and I can also see on the site plan that there's some fencing that's moving around. There's also new fencing proposed as part of this site plan along the lot line. And actually, you Mr. Cotto, you brought up the the zoning change. I believe that this lot was interpreted as or was put into a commercial zone, into the NC zone as part of that prior change, but the adjacent lot remains residential. And we did just review, I think actually in one of these adjacent lots, a BAR, and approved a BAR application. So I think it's really important for us to understand as part of the site plan review, both this fencing that's moving now, I think, closer to Sherman Place up against the sidewalk, and it looks like a new fence going down along that lot line, which by the way, and I believe there's some additional fencing being removed on that near that lot line as well, a gate, perhaps a rolling gate. It's kind of hard to tell. I think there are some photographs in the application, but especially materially understanding this, because typically in a residential zone, we don't like to see chain link fencing. This is going to be somebody's backyard. So if the applicant, I apologize, I don't recall your name, is on the phone and can maybe explain what's being proposed in those areas.
Yes, I think he's on the phone. Yes.
I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent. Michael Bonfiglio here, applicant. So yeah, I mean, basically I was just going with the existing fencing throughout, which is consistent around the entire property, with the exception of that northern exposure. So there's nothing that separates if you're looking at the building from Sherman on the right hand side, adjacent to that single family zone that was, I guess, once part of the same lots, I guess. So yeah, there's no fence there, but I was just matching what was there, which is a chain link with privacy slats.
And I think there's actually a photograph. There's both photographs, of that fencing as well as the site, which I think might be helpful for all of us to see.
So this is a picture of the actual chain link fence in front of the site.
Is that where it's located right now? That looks like it's right up against the sidewalk. And I was trying to figure out on the site plan, it looked like there was a section of fence that was moving kind of towards the street.
So there is a section of fencing that is currently, I guess, almost like continuation of the front of the building, and it runs south toward what is that? Croton Avenue.
Okay.
That Croton? Yeah. So and then and that section of fence is basically what we're proposing is to bring it out to the end of the lot line. and basically to incorporate the additional space, the additional parking space.
I would like to hear from board members just on this question of how this site is being contained with this fencing.
I'm, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm not a huge fan of the chain link fence with the privacy screening, particularly on the side of the parcel that would be facing the residential property. That being said, I'm a little bit at a loss as to what to propose, because if you change the fencing on that side, then what do you do with the rest of the fencing that's on the front of the lot and I guess on the south of the lot? Do we just keep the chain link fence? I would think at least maybe on the street frontage, you would change the fencing to be similar to whatever is decided for the fence that faces the residential property.
Yeah, I would agree. I would not like to see chain link up against a residential area, and it would make sense then to also adjust it on the front. But mostly I'm concerned about along the residential side of the building.
Well, I think for the frontage then, my issue is going to be creating a rolling gate out of, I mean, what would you propose? Like a vinyl, more of like a residential type of fencing, like a vinyl privacy or something like that? Because I just don't see how I would be able to then incorporate a rolling gate into the design, which is pre-existing and currently there.
I'm looking at a street view of it. It really is to your left. If you're looking directly onto your site, it's, what is that, like a used car lot or auto body shop? It's like just loaded with cars, like 30 cars in there.
It's an inspection.
That was that's probably a very, very old image that you're looking at.
Yeah, hold on. September 2013. Yeah.
Yeah, it's currently a car repair inspection site.
To the left-hand side, right? To the
Yeah.
left side.
If you're facing the site, and it's right on the corner of Croton and Sherman.
So I don't think there's any issues with maintaining that as a chain link fence, because I don't think that's going to be an eyesore to what's currently there. We're talking about on the right-hand side and the Sherman Place frontage.
Yes. I mean, I have a question. Does it have to be a sliding fence? I mean, could it be a gate? I mean, a sliding gate? Could it be a gate that, there are two pieces that meet in the middle that open up? In which case that could be, I don't know, a wood fence. I'm not a big fan of the white vinyl, but I'm just wondering, does it have to be a sliding gate?
Well, for me personally, as the owner of the building, and for security purposes, I would want it to be something. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of dollars in the trucks that park there overnight, so I wouldn't want it to be something as simple as a crowbar and you pop a couple of slats off and anybody could get in there and just rummage through our vehicles. So I'd like it personally just for the sense of security that it allows.
Is this fence continuous, or is it, I'm just going to draw this red line here. It looks to me like the new proposal is just to have a fence in this area, or is there additional fencing that's still continuing along the rest of the street frontage?
So the current fencing goes around the entire building with the exception of that area that is adjacent to the single family homes.
Understood. I'm trying to read this. I know that you have a fence that you're moving down this way, and currently there's fencing over here, but are you still, it was kind of unclear for me, just based on the scale of the drawing, if this area right in front of the building, you're still proposing to have that fencing, or if that's being eliminated in this design.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was being eliminated and then basically pushed forward.
Okay, so that's important. So this section of fence here will not touch or be continuous with this separate fence here on the lot line with the residential.
Well, it would be no, correct. It would not be continuous to the residential lot. It's only continuous to the return fencing, which is adjacent to, I believe what you call the car lot, which splits the, our neighboring property on the left-hand side if you're in the building.
This section.
I want the board to try to keep in mind, there is a driveway into the front of the property right here.
Okay.
So that's, it's part of why there's no fence there now. And I think, this is probably a good point for me to give a little bit of an explanation as to how the site plan has evolved over time. So initially the applicant had proposed to bring in, parking spaces at various different locations behind the existing fence line. So the fence line started out here. And so his proposal was to put, cars here and here and here, and then have another parking space in front of the fence here. But the way that the property has been used up to this point has had cars that were essentially parking on the sidewalk and blocking the space up. So rather than have that, we kind of recommended to them to move the fence to the property line where they were able to do that as well. He has a doorway right here, and so he wanted to know if it was possible to move the fence to where he's proposed it now, which allows him to sort of be able to walk straight to the parking lot from that door, which the building inspector confirmed he could. And then he also proposed some additional parking over here on the side, as well as some spots in the actual building itself, which allows him to achieve what he's required to get under the parking requirements without getting a variance. So that's the 3 spaces inside the building. There's 1 space here that is, that counts. This is an additional sort of vehicle storage where he's going to park cars, but it's not a legal space because it's a tandem space. And then there was some sort of working around trying to figure out where the park spaces were going to go on the interior lot. So in conversations with the building inspector, it seemed that these spaces made sense to leave a sort of a little kind of a refuge area so the cars could sort of pull in and pull out, making these 2, this space here and this space here, these kind of parallel spaces, which allows them to pull out as well as this space right here to pull out. And then, you can see the rest of the parking spots that are all sort of pull in, pull out spaces. So it was a bit of a challenge to meet the parking requirements here, considering the shape of the lot without getting a variance. And that's sort of how we ended up with this parking layout here. So hopefully that explain all that.
That is helpful, and both of those kind of point to the fact that we're talking about the fencing along the front of Sherman versus versus this lot line, since they're kind of compositionally and just they're separate entities. They're not touching. One's enclosing a parking lot, the other is really a lot line fence. I would be okay, though I don't love this big fence up on the sidewalk, but kind of being like understanding the security concerns, that's a real issue, would be to have the fencing just along this parking lot be the proposed privacy screen with chain link, but then to have a different material, more residential friendly, kind of abutting the residential portion of the lot would make sense to me.
I agree.
That sounds reasonable to me. I do have a quick question. Somehow I was under the impression that actually these are these employees' cars that are being parked, or are they commercial vehicles that are being parked on the lot?
So at nighttime, they are commercial vehicles. And during the day, they are employee vehicles and any leftover commercial vehicles that don't go out that specific day.
Okay. And those, and there's enough space as currently laid out for all those vehicles to come in and out and move around?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I only bring it up because I know that when we were hearing the application on the residential property, that there were complaints from people in the neighborhood about just a lot of parking on the street that was taking up spots for them, not necessarily just your company, but just in general, commercial vehicles and adjacent businesses and so forth.
Yeah, and I'm not sure because I've never applied for one. But it's my understanding that the village grants permitting for vehicles. And I don't know if that includes commercial vehicles, but I can only assume that it does because
Does
up
not.
and down, it does not. Okay, well, during the nighttime and a lot during the day, I'd say the majority of the days, there are commercial vehicles that have absolutely nothing to do with our business parking up and down the street, going all the way up to the park, which is on the next corner. And I'm talking about like larger vans and utility trucks and they're lettered trucks and they're clearly not, our vehicles. Some of them are lettered, others are not, but, and they park there during the nighttime too. So I understand, and I'm actually, I'm with the residents. Like it's, if one of our employees, if I want to park there, I can't even park there because these vehicles are parked on the street. And again, they are not ours.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
No, for sure.
I have a comment and a question. I understand your security concerns. I just want to ask you a question about the height of your fencing. Is it over 8 feet?
No, it's exactly 8 feet.
It's 8 feet, okay. And you also have the top 3 barbed wire on the section of fencing that's to the south, closer to Croton Ave?
That is still intact, but not entirely. And
Okay.
it's my understanding that is no longer legal. So we were going to remove that on this
Okay.
On this go around.
Okay, I think that would make it soften up the way that site looks, because I think you actually have a really nice building. And I think it's really great what you've done there, like repurposing it into a business. I remember walking past this building. I haven't lived in Ossining forever, but looking at it thinking, wow, I know that's the old trolley house. And that's a fantastic building. And what you've done there in terms of cultivating and incubating businesses is very, laudable. And I think it's great for the community. I guess my only comment or question I would have about the fence on the residential side that we're talking about was, understanding that you want a chain link fence, you want something sturdy, and you want something that's going to be very, resistant to break-ins. What is the possibility to soften that side up if you were going to use chain link fencing to move from something like galvanized steel finish to like a black finish, which is something more common that you see in residential areas used? I could think of like tennis courts and basketball courts and things like that, where they're trying to make.
Yeah, no, I'd be perfectly happy with that. I have no problem with a black or a green even. I think right now, I'm pretty sure that we don't have gal. I think it is black with privacy.
It may be, and I can't see, so thank you if that is the case. I wasn't sure. So.
Yeah. No, I it definitely softens it. It makes it look less commercial, and I think the privacy slats also soften it a little bit.
The privacy flats are black. The actual chain link and the posts are galvanized.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm showing them on the screen right now, so you can see they're galvanized posts. Galvanized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we absolutely do like a black chain link with the black privacy slats. I'd be perfectly happy and satisfied with that.
Okay, well, I just wanted to put that out there as a potential idea for other board members to consider too, because I'd like to hear what other people think about that in terms of consistency or, practicality. That's it. Thank you.
so are you looking at the piece of fence on the residential side also 8 feet?
I believe that it is proposed to be an 8-foot fence on that side as well.
Because I'm definitely opposed to chain link there. But, there are metal fences, there are other things you could do that would be, I think, secure, a lot more secure than a vinyl. And would look a lot better for whoever is going to have to live next door to it.
Yeah, I would agree with Nina. I mean, I know this is kind of a crazy, first of all, I know there's a question of cost, and then there's the question of the lot line, but if the concern was security, would it be possible to keep the chain link fence and then have another more pleasant, like, I don't know, a wooden slat fence on the other side of the chain link fence facing the residential property? I don't know. I know it doesn't really it's probably not feasible, but I was trying to think of a way to address both your security concerns as well as the aesthetics for the adjacent property.
I also I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt because I know that there's a full enclosure, a full fence enclosure on the parking lot side, but on the residential side, is it my understanding that, and we should talk about I think you're going to need a curb cut, but where that second parking spot is, you would, that over here, that this would be open up, right? This is not a security enclosure that you would have your parking lot and this would be open. Or is this also a security enclosure?
I'm not sure where you're talking about. I'm calling in, so I don't have access to the screens. My computer wasn't working.
Where you have that standalone parking space when you're looking at the building to the right of the spot, to the right of the building, and that tandem spot next to it, is that is that going to be fully enclosed? I was understanding from what you said before that that's actually not going to be enclosed. That's a standalone fence there.
Well, that area would be enclosed based on the current site design. Basically, the front already has a double gate, which opens up to, I believe, 10 foot. And it has the same design, the same privacy slat, the same height. And basically, by continuing that fence line down parallel to the property on the property line, that would basically enclose that area. It's separated in the back by the stream. There's a stream that runs adjacent to the property and kind of behind the property. So it doesn't connect to the parking lot, but it would be its own kind of secure area as well. And there is a back door to the property that would lead to that area.
Okay, because the site plan that we're looking at does not show a fence line in front of the building.
There's a fence.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
So based on the site plan that we're looking at, that area would be open and accessible. That little alley between the fence and the right side of the building.
Oh no, there was a fence and gate there when I purchased the building 3 years ago. Yeah, that was pre-existing.
No, it's just not shown on the plan. So.
Oh, I see.
Not drawn on the plan.
Gotcha.
Do we have
Yeah,
a picture of the frontage of this building?
Google Maps has a really good picture, or excuse me, of that frontage.
Probably a really.
I'm actually surprised that you have privacy slats behind the chain link for security, because I would have thought generally you would want to have visibility into the site.
From the street?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody gets in there, then, they're completely hidden with your privacy slats.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's LED motion lights, and there's probably 26 cameras within the building and outside the building. So, I mean, it's secure in that sense. I mean, if somebody does get in there, they will be seen, and the lights will turn on if it's at nighttime. But I mean, listen, I'd be happy to hear from you as far as the board, as far as your recommendation on the fence in that area. And my other thoughts are, if somebody's going to be building on the residential side, I'm sure they're going to be putting in some landscape, right? I'm sure they're going to be putting some trees and such. And if there is a fence, I mean, it's going to be a brand new fence. It's going to be a good looking fence. If they want to put a tree line there, I mean, they could always put trees there in front of the fencing as well.
We've looked at, through the years, many fences, on these commercial lots that abut residential neighborhoods, and chain link is something that we really want to avoid in that location. I think this photo is super helpful. To be really clear, the site plan that we were given to review does not show the gate that you're showing there right now. That's effectively
Gotcha.
where that parking, there's a parking spot in that location. And I would note that this photo is really clear. There is also no curb cut in that location, so you would need to show a curb cut and an apron in the sidewalk in order to, to provide that parking spot so someone can drive straight into that off the street. So that would be another
Right.
site plan adjustment that we would need to see. But I think looking at this from where we are right now, kind of understanding materially a friendlier fence on that side of the building. I think, and again, I'll defer to my fellow board members, just in terms of finalizing the conversation of the fence on the left side, we're surrounding your parking lot. But it sounds like there's some consensus in terms of maybe allowing for the chain link. If it's black, you're obviously going to get rid of the barbed wire, and that'll move out per your site plan to enclose your parking lot. So I think that those adjustments I think would work. I'm actually looking at this photo and I am seeing, so that 8-foot fence will now go in front of that door that Jaime was talking about. So that is going to block a little bit of the view of the front of the building. It's just worth mentioning, as we're looking at all of this. This is a site plan, not a BAR, but there will be an impact visually on the building there.
So as far as a recommendation on the fence, what, I don't want to go ahead and propose something that,
Well, it really isn't up to us to recommend, but if you take a look at residential security fences, just Google it. I think you'll find some good options there that are not chain link.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
I mean, black steel fencing is what you commonly see in that kind of setting. It's a little more costly, but it definitely looks a lot better. But that's an option that you might want to look into, black steel fencing.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yep.
Okay. We should open up a public hearing on this, I think, at this point. So unless there are any other kind of pushing questions from the board? Okay, so can we have a motion to I think reopen the public hearing on this application?
Michael Aronson, motion to reopen the public hearing.
Isabel Wynn, I second that motion.
Okay, any objections? No objections, the motion passes. I do see one hand in the attendees list. So again, if anybody from the public coming in to speak, I may move you into the meeting, and then just before you speak, please clearly introduce yourself and your place of residence for the record before proceeding with your comments.
The first person we have is Susan Askew Torres. And move them over to the panelist side. So Susan, if you could take yourself off of mute so that you can speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, yes. Susan Askew Torres. I'm a resident of 22 Park Avenue. And it just came up, a little while ago that, I don't know, I think somebody said that parking's not a problem. The parking along Sherman Place is a big problem. And I have no way of knowing whose cars and trucks are out there. But I can tell you that the number of cars and trucks that are parked right to the end of Sherman Place almost daily, that began when the ownership of this building changed. And so I don't, like I said, I don't know whose cars and trucks they are, but I know that they weren't there before and they are there now all the time. And it's unsightly. It makes it, I would like to be able to walk to the store, but I just won't even walk down that street anymore. It's so ugly. It's just become so industrial looking, and it's awful for the neighborhood. And so I just wanted to weigh in and just say that, because parking is a problem. And so if he's adding more parking, there has to be spots in there. And those 2 spots along the side of the building where you're talking about putting a fence, there's already trucks in there parked every day. So anyway, okay, I'm finished.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Askew-Torres.
Yeah.
And also just, I mean, for the record, as we're discussing this application, I know we're looking at this site plan because of a change in use, and so because of the work that they're doing, the applicant's being required to add and to demonstrate through their site plan where they can fit the cars that the code requires them, the parking spots that the code requires them to have based on the use that they're asking to have permission for. So I do see another hand up. This is Carlos Torres. So if we can maybe elevate Carlos Torres. And again, state your name and place of residence for the record before speaking.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes. Hi, Carlos Torres.
I think if you were and Ms. Askew-Torres are in the same space, if one of you could disconnect or turn off the.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carlos Torres, 22 Park Avenue.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just like to say that this is a beautiful residential neighborhood. And we have lived in this neighborhood for over 35 years. One of this I would consider one of the nicest neighborhoods in Ossining, although I love all of Ossining. But it's becoming a big industrial mess. And the reason for that, I believe, is that the trolley car, I love that it's a historical building and I love everything about it. But that was a parking area inside there. And now it's offices. So that means all the cars that would park there are no longer parking there. They're parking on Sherwood Place, and they're also parking all along the very beautiful Arthur Jones Park. And in the corner where most of these large trucks are parked, pretty much all day, 5 days a week, there's a toddler, a 5-year-old, I guess 2 to 5-year-old playing area. And some of the tires of these trucks are bigger than the kids. And if the kids run out into the street to get a ball, these trucks will not see them. So basically, sometimes I can count up to like 30 cars there. And it was never that way before the new ownership and the conversion of the trolley space. Now, the thing is that it may not be, all the cars may not be from this place, but it wasn't like that before. So these cars, the trucks that are not from there are being attracted by the amount of industrial trucks that are in the area. So I think that right now, this neighborhood is starting to be overtaken by the industrial space of the trolley building. Also, the sidewalk area that belongs to the village, at least the outer area, but it's very confusing. So people do not bring their kids, they walk their kids on that sidewalk when there are these huge trucks parked next to them. So basically, even though we're paying taxes for that sidewalk, we cannot use that sidewalk. So that's what I would like to add. It's really becoming a big industrial mess. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. I actually think that one of the comments that Mr. Torres just made is something that Jaime had mentioned earlier, which is that some of the parking that's been taking place has been taking place outside of the current fence, and that's created a hazard on the sidewalks. So hopefully, by moving that fence and requiring all of the parking to happen within that enclosure will provide better separation between the parking and the vehicles on the lot, and restore an element of safety to the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, I would note that in my observation, I've seen on several different occasions where cars are being parked on the sidewalk on the applicant's property, as well as some of the neighbors' properties for that matter, in that area, the other industrial type uses. So, I mean, it's, you know, I think it goes without saying, but you can't park on a sidewalk. I mean, under any circumstances, not even for a minute. So you're gonna pull a car in inside the building, then you can pull it in the building, you can pull it into the parking lot. But what you can't do is just, you know, pop the curb and leave your vehicle in the front of the building. I've seen that myself, so I know that that's actually happening.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Torres. So do we have any other, anybody else from the public? I don't see any more hands right now on the attendees list. Jaime, do you see anybody else?
No.
Or have you received any other correspondence?
No.
I do see a hand at George Georgiadakis.
Yeah, he's the architect for Ryder Road.
Got it. All right. So
I can bring him in. I don't know if he actually wants to talk about this or he just wants to.
well, you know, just since we're in a public hearing, you can just make sure he's not here to speak for this, and then we'll get back to him in terms of his agenda item.
Yeah. Hi, George. If you could take yourself off mute. Is the note that you wanted to make about this property, or is it about the fact that you're here for 13 grand? Hello, George?
George, we can't hear you. All right. George, you can try to speak, and if you're here to speak on your application, maybe you could just shoot Jaime an email or reach out to him so he knows that what you're here for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't hear him speaking right now, so let's put him back. George, please, if you can hear me, just reach out to Jaime to just note that you're here and ready to present for your client. We'll get to you. We've pushed that back to the end of the agenda. Okay, so minus the one hand, I don't see anybody else here from the public. Give you one more opportunity. And as Jaime just noted, no other correspondence, emails received on this application, Jaime?
No.
Okay. Can we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Isabel,
I'm sorry.
Isabel,
I'm sorry. Am I still on?
I'm sorry?
Hello? Am I still on? Could you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're still here. We're just going to leave the public hearing, and then we'll just give you some firm instructions in terms of what we need to see for the next meeting.
Yeah, I had one more question. I just didn't want to hang up before I asked it. That's all.
Sure. Just give us one second. So I just want to adjourn the public hearing first. I'm sorry, Isabel, were you motioning there?
yes, Isabel Wynn, a motion to close the public hearing.
Adjourn the public hearing.
Sorry, to adjourn the public hearing.
All right, Talbot, I second.
Any objections? No objections. The motion passes. The public hearing is adjourned. It sounds like, you know, so we have a couple of pieces of feedback here. I think some points of clarification that we need, but certainly in terms of the fence material on the lot line side, we would like for you to look for a more residential friendly material. I would note that also your current site plan does not seem to reflect your verbal description of the of that parking spot, and if there's a gate, any additional gating or fencing proposed, especially on, I'm just going to say the right side of the building, that needs to be clarified. We also talked about a curb cut and an apron, which would need to be shown on the site plan, corresponding with that second parking spot on the right side of the building. Board members, anything that I missed?
I just kind of had a question or a comment. I guess it's a comment. But indeed, if that fence now, you're going to put an 8-foot fence in front, partially in front of the building itself. And I would be sorry to see that. This is a beautiful building. It's a historic building. And I think it's going to really detract from it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I agree with that. When we saw that photo, that was pretty glaring. I don't know if there would be a way to redesign that fence enclosure to ensure that the front of that building remains kind of public forward, and, you know, visible and unobscured.
So basically don't incorporate the existing door into it and push it over just to where the parking lot is, to encompass only the parking lot itself is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, Nina. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. I have another question regarding the right side of the building. What if I put up no fence at all? I mean, what if there was no fence, no obstruction? And then I just don't, you know, then I just don't have to worry. Right. The only thing I have to worry about is not having tools in that vehicle and leaving that vehicle, you know, just basically to be parked there, whether during the day or, you know, at nighttime.
Are you just talking about like where the gate is right now, or along that entire lot line?
Along the entire lot line, because if the fence itself you guys don't want to see, or you think it'll be unsightly, you know, what if we just don't put anything there? And then, I mean, that would, I mean, look, it saved me about 15,000, so I'd be happy with that.
Michael, we can't hear you.
Sorry, how would you prevent encroachment or more cars parking there than are legally permitted if there's no fence delineating? You're talking about not putting a fence between your property line and the residential property, or just the fence in the gate in the front?
Well, well, there's already a gate in the front.
Right.
What I was referring to was the 120-foot run of fence that would be separating the two properties. You know, so if you're worried about it being unsightly and such, then, I mean, what if we didn't put a fence up at all? What if maybe, I don't know, we did either nothing or planted some trees?
Well, what you could do, Michael, to your point, would be simply to have some low delineation that nobody's going to drive over, that would enclose the parking area a little bit. That would also do it. I don't have an objection to having no fence along that line.
So, you know, the NC2 zone does require that there are setbacks, you know, when you're building new properties from residential yards. I don't think that means that you can't use that to park a vehicle, but I do think you should be concerned about screening of any potential vehicles in one way or another. So, you know, I would point out that the decision to make a fence that goes all the way to the back of the property is sort of that of the property owner. But in order to create screening for two spaces, they wouldn't need to go nearly that far. If it was just a limited fence line, or even, you know, trees or arborvitaes or something, some sort of screening, I think would be helpful for the building, for the residential properties. So,
is there room for a hedgerow there?
Hedge?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, did you say?
Yeah, like a hedgerow, like an arborvitae or a similar screening plant instead of a fence where the parking spaces are.
I don't quite see how you would fit that in, but
Yeah, it may not be enough space.
it looks like there's about, you know, probably 16 feet or so, 16, 17 feet. But it narrows as you go back. So
As you go back, it narrows, correct.
yeah, so it's probably by the end of that second tandem space, it's, you know, it's probably more like, you know, 13 feet or so.
Might
Is
could do a
that
smaller
six-
species.
Well, the space, they have the spaces delineated, and those spaces are 9 feet by 18 feet. So if you take the space plus the extra area, then it's probably another, you know, few feet here back at the end. And then, you know, as you get up here, it gets really narrow. But again, I think that the building is pretty nice. The screening from the building is probably less important. Screening from vehicles that are, you know, commercial vehicles that are parking right there is probably more important. So some kind of screen, whether it's a fence or.
Yeah, and I think where we are, I think we can leave that up, you know, to your team to take a look at and figure out what makes sense, you know, for you. And if you can come back to us with the screening that we're looking for, and you know, not a chain link fence, because that's something we do have a concern about, but either an alternate fence material or some other means of screening those cars in a tasteful and kind of residential sensitive manner. And you know, you certainly don't need to have the fence the entire length, it sounds like. So if you can take a look at that and then come back to us with that revised proposal, you know, along with the other comments that we've made now, I think that would be helpful.
What if, and again, just trying to figure out, how to kind of nip this in the bud once. What if I did some type of a vinyl residential fence, but I didn't wrap the parking area? In other words, I just to kind of field or I guess kind of block the view of the vehicles. So I go, I don't know, if the vehicle storage would be, say, 40 feet, I would go just 50 feet of residential fence and then stop it. And not, basically close off the back of the parking lot, the parking spots. So this way, if we had to walk around the building, we're not getting stuck behind a fence either. That would be my concern from an operational standpoint as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the screening will be from the various directions. So if you've got, and to be clear, the site plan that we're looking at only shows 2 parking spots in that area, not, and I guess that may be, 38, 40 feet. But yeah, you would need to screen that from, any direction. So the folks on the, that are on the residential side looking in, I think if it was open-ended, that would be visible and not properly screened. So you'd have to look at how that would be screened, and maybe that would be a softer, plant or a gate. I'm not sure. I also, you bring up vinyl. I know that was mentioned by a couple of board members earlier as being not necessarily the preferred material. I don't know that it's an automatic no, but if there are any other board member reactions to that, to the use of that material as well, it'd be helpful to have that out now.
Well, I mean, my only concern is that for screening purposes, the only fencing I could think about that would screen something. I mean, if we went with, say, a steel fence, a picket fence, any picket material is not going to screen anything. It's just going to be more so a decorative fence. When I think screening, I think vinyl privacy on a residential side, or I think, chain link with slats. I don't know. And I even Googled it as we were talking, and anything that I see is like, full steel, like heavy duty, like security fencing. I really don't know that. I don't know what else exists in the market that would be plausible for screening anyway. I mean, if we just want a regular steel picket fence, I could get a picket fence. That's no problem. For me, I'm not worried about screening. But for the board and for, anyone else that may have an objection, I just want to do what is going to make this thing pass. So, I mean, I could do a picket fence. Picket fence is not going to screen the area. I mean, would it be less objectable if we only closed in the parking area and I didn't go all the way down the building, so that I'd say, I don't know, probably 2/3 minimum would be exposed still? If we did go with that kind of chain link with the privacy, if I didn't go the whole length of the building, so the building was still enclosed.
Yeah, I think we're trying to avoid chain link on that side of the property. And so, I mean, I don't think we're saying no to the vinyl fencing, outright. I think it would be helpful to see what you're proposing. I think that the idea even of a steel fence, even though it's transparent, that does create a visual barrier and a block that that would, I think, be more, less objectionable to the chain link, and that folks could, on the other side of the fence, could, as you noted before, would probably want to put their own kind of vegetative screening on that side. But it kind of creates the barrier. It does have a visual block. It says, this is where my property ends, your property begins. Jaime, is there anything in this?
Yeah. So So one of the things that you might want to think about is sort of potentially wrapping a chain link fence for security purposes with something more natural, like a wood stockade fence, wrapping a chain link fence. That way it sort of provides you with security that you're looking for, but also provides maybe something that's visually a little bit more appealing. And again, it only has to function as a wrap, allowing you to keep your prices down. Is something like that potentially acceptable to the board?
I'm just wondering, even if it's on that lot line, I'm not even hearing security concerns, right? That this is like, we're talking about maybe eliminating it entirely.
Yeah, as far as security concerns, I'm not super concerned with security on that side. So yeah, I mean, I'd be, like I said, two
I
suggestions.
think I want to say,
Maybe what makes sense is for us to have we have, it's gonna be a couple months layoff before the next meeting. Maybe it makes sense for us to have a follow-up meeting with you, the applicant and staff to try to come up with something that makes sense.
That would be helpful because we're talking this one to death at this point. So agreed, that makes sense. Let's have that follow-up conversation with staff, come back with an alternate material that will provide the required screening, and take in the meantime, take into consideration the other comments that we've made regarding the parking on the other side, and the blocking of the front of the building. All right.
Very good. Works for me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night. So we're gonna move on now to our next item. I know that the applicant from our first agenda is here, but we're gonna push that to the end, I think, at this point, just to keep everybody else moving. So we are up to BAR 03-2022. This is a BAR application that we saw a couple months ago, 128 Revolutionary Road. Jaime, can you just run down where we are with this?
Sure. So the applicant is seeking BAR approval for the proposed construction of attached garage. The proposal is a type 2 action, and the board should consider whether design and materials is appropriate. You've already had a pretty heavy discussion about the design. What you didn't have were materials. So you do have that now. And I think that with that, you probably don't have much left to discuss, but the architect is here.
Okay, let's bring them in.
And somebody else is here. I'm assuming the applicant.
Hi, everybody.
Hello there. Okay, so if you guys could just give us the, I'm sorry, are you the architect for the project?
Yes.
Okay,
The
excellent.
owner is also attending.
Got it. I'm assuming that's the 08719. There we go.
Hi.
Hey, all right, welcome.
Thank you.
So if you guys can just maybe give us the updates, the changes that or the clarifications in terms of material that you've submitted since we last saw you, and then we can go from there.
Sure. We had discussions about materials for the siding, the gutters and leaders, the roof, trim, and color on the siding. So let me just start with the siding. We are going with the hardy plank, a lap siding with a 5-inch reveal, which matches the existing wood siding on the house. The color, which is up on the screen now, is called Light Mist. It's sort of a light grayish color. Trim will continue to be white. The garage and the house will match at the time that the garage is done. I believe the owner intends to paint the house as well, so they'll be the same color at that point. The trim around the windows and fascia and whatnot, all of that trim will be something called Boral. If you're not familiar with it, it's a polyash composite. It's made of fly ash, which is a byproduct of coal combustion. So it's about 70%, I think, recycled materials on that. And it's a really nice product. It's water resistant, rot resistant, insect resistant, etc. And that just gets painted whatever you want to paint it. The roof is going to be shingled with Tesla photovoltaic solar roof shingles. The tiles that are non-solar will match the solar. So they'll be consistent all the way through. So you won't have those big panels, you'll actually see shingles. And then the gutters, we're doing 6-inch half-round aluminum white gutters, and the leaders will be 4-inch round aluminum white as well. Those will obviously drain to daylight. And I think that was it in terms of materials.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Board members, any questions on this presentation, the materials that are selected, the overall?
No, only got a comment. I think they're using really high-end quality materials. The finishes look really good. Just something to look into. I remember reading an article back in early April that Tesla suspended install of their solar panels. So look into that. Maybe that's got lifted and maybe have some contingencies in place in case that is still ongoing.
Okay.
But I have no issues with the materials they're using. Everything, all high-quality materials. Looks good.
Yep.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you for revisiting those. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I just want to point out, I mean, this is the property here. And so you are, proposing to add a driveway. This has not come up before. And also these photovoltaic cells here. And you have these large trees. What is your intention with the trees?
Okay, so I had an arborist come out and evaluate, and he said those trees that you're showing right now along Revolutionary Road are about 80% dead. So the objective, now I have the tree permit application that I have to fill out, and I'm going to do that, which would be to remove those trees and to replace them with newer, healthier trees. So everything that I put in the tree permit application, none of those trees have anything to do with the view of the Henry Hudson River. They're just trees that are on the way out that should be replaced.
Okay. That's helpful. And I guess we're not doing a site plan review here, Jaime, right? We're looking at this from a BAR perspective.
No, but I mean, it's a good, I'm glad to hear these applying for the tree permit as opposed to just sort of like cutting them down. So it's good to hear.
Yeah, because on the riverside, there's a gorgeous American beach and a beautiful Norway maple. They do stand in front of the river, but the trees are majestic. So those are keepers for sure. And the arborist says that they're healthy, and I'm happy about that.
Great. Any other thoughts from the board? I don't hear any. We do need to open this up to the public right now. So I think this would be a good time to open the public hearing.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to open a public hearing.
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections. The motion passes. We're now in a public hearing. If there is anybody here from the public to speak to this application, you can raise your hand now using the hand raise function. I don't see any hands. And did we get any other comments, Jaime, via email or otherwise? No, we did not. Okay. So with nobody here to speak to this application, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Isabel Wynn.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Isabel Wynn, motion to close the public hearing.
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections. The motion passes and the public hearing is closed. I just wanted to echo what some of the other board members have said. I think this is a very well thought out, clearly presented, design, and I think it looks great. It's appropriate, and
thank you.
Thank you for that. So, I think without any further ado, can we have a motion from the board to approve the application?
Isabel Wynn, motion to approve the application.
Bobby Bowker, second the motion.
And Jaime, if we can do a roll call.
Seth Roy.
Aye.
Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen.
Aye.
Diana Aaron.
Aye.
Ulysses Castillo.
Aye.
Robert Bowker.
Aye.
Eric Talbot.
Aye.
All right. That's a 7-0. The motion carries. All right. So congratulations, guys. Good luck with your project.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night. Good luck.
Thank you very much. We're very
Thank
excited.
you. Have a good night.
All right.
You too. Thanks for the great work.
Okay. So with that, let's keep moving. We're going to go up to Water Street. So Planning Board 13-2021, BAR 08-2021. We spent a lot of time on this the last few meetings. Jaime, maybe you can just tell us kind of where we stand right now in our review, just refresh everyone's memories, and we can then after that bring the applicant in.
Yes, so kind of the quick rundown on the application. It's proposing redevelopment on a 3.4 acre site with two structures. First being an 8-story mixed-use building with 109 units of affordable housing at 30 to 80% of Westchester County AMI with rooftop terraces, amenity space, 3,558 square feet of neighborhood retail space, 3,740 square feet of community space, which will be provided and accessible to the Village of Ossining. Parking in the cellar for residents with 24 spaces, with the building constructed to LEED standards. The second is a building on the site with parking garage with 4 levels. The first 3 levels will complement the cellar parking in the main building to provide the remaining 131 of the required 155 parking spaces for the site. 4th level of the garage will be for the Village of Ossining to use as municipal parking and will contain 45 spaces. Site also contains significant public plaza around the Sing Sing Kill with an extension of the Sing Sing Kill walkway under the Central Avenue Bridge and through the site. The application, would be classified as an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, as it does not meet the criteria for type 1 or type 2. They have submitted a full environmental assessment form along with several addenda in order for the board to make a SECRA determination. We've already kind of gone through the discussion of this up to this point. So I think that the goal today is, if the board feels ready to discuss the negative declaration that was prepared, the draft negative declaration that was prepared by Linda Whitehead. And at that point, just sort of close out SECRA, if that's the will of the board. And at that point, the application in September would move over to the zoning board, first for the area variances, and then later to the Board of Trustees for the planned waterfront special permit, and would ultimately have to return back to the planning board for site plan, conditional use, subdivision approval, and approval of density bonus.
Sounds good. So let's bring them in, and as they come in, I think we can really focus on the kind of new information that's been submitted with regard to the SECRA review, and then kind of and how that jives with the draft deck that we've all received and had time to review. So, and I think just specifically, we've looked at a new tree replacement plan. And I know there's some new information that you can update us just regarding the fire department review as well. And I think that the SESI report, I think there's some stormwater updates as well. So.
Well, the applicant is here. So I don't know, Linda, would you like to sort of kick off the discussion?
Yeah, let me just to follow up on what Seth was just saying on SESI and on the stormwater. Joe Tremelli's not with us tonight, he's on vacation, but he did advise us the other day that all of his comments on the SESI, the flood management report, and the stormwater have all been addressed. So he is satisfied on those 2 items. The other main thing that obviously you had a lot of discussion about at the last meeting was the trees, and you had the arborist. And I think maybe the applicant can sort of summarize what they have done in response to the comments at that meeting. And then Jaime, I think that's been back to the arborist.
Yeah, it has been back to the arborist. The arborist actually has provided some additional comments reported on to the board. So, I think we can maybe let the applicant talk about some of the changes that they have made. But a big part of what I think the arborist would like to see is maybe just more consideration about providing additional trees, or, at least for the purposes of screening on Main Street, whether that's through planters or right along the edge, as well as additional shade trees over the kill itself on the south side. And I think that there are, additional concerns. There's been some, planters that have been added. So he did like the planters that he saw on the south side of the kill down by the building. But I think I'll let the applicant kind of discuss those comments, as they're somewhat new to them as well at this point.
All right.
So good evening, Rich Williams, Insight Engineering. The first thing I'll start out about with the trees is we spent a lot of time at the last meeting talking about them, and it was in context of the pending neg deck, which I know you have before you this evening, and our willingness as an applicant to continue to work with the board through the site plan process to mitigate the tree removal. So we did, as we said we would at the last meeting, continue to supplement information in good faith to this board to show our desire to continue to work with you. It's a conversation that I'm sure we're going to continue as we move through the process. But as far as what we did submit and what we were asked to submit, I will share my screen. But we spent a lot of time talking about how tree removal was contemplated, because we did provide a tabulation of trees to be removed on the site. As we went through the areas where we surveyed, which again were limited to the areas of disturbance, we did not do a full tree survey across the entire site because most of the northeastern corner of the site is proposed to remain in its natural state. That's where we're doing the Greenway extension. So our tree survey was focused really in the developed portions and areas where we are disturbing. We reviewed the fact that along this slope, along Main Street, which is an existing rock slope, it was unsafe to put survey crews on that. So we did our best from the ground to quantify the number of trees, and we provided a tabulized table. We talked about the fact that when you look at the entire forested area on the site, we're removing a very small portion of it, approximately 1/10 of an acre. And what you had asked us to do was look at where the invasive species of trees existed within our limits of disturbance. So when we quantified the trees to be removed, we identified those that were dead. We identified the trees being removed for public benefit, which includes the stormwater basin, the Greenway extension, the access to the parking garage. And we also quantified trees being removed as part of the brownfield cleanup. And we also quantified invasive species. And where we arrived last time was, it seemed that the board was taking the position that it was fair of us to not count the trees for public benefit as part of the mitigation, but there was some question about whether invasive species should or shouldn't be counted for the purposes of mitigation. So you had asked us to clearly show where those trees were so that we could have a more meaningful discussion when we came back tonight. And that is what we did on our tree removal plan. We highlighted the trees that were invasive in red. You can see that they are generally on the northeast side of the parking garage on this slope here. At the base of this slope is where the existing building is. We did talk to our geotechnical engineers, seeing that where the cluster of invasive species was, and it makes sense because that's an area that was once cleared that's now reestablishing itself, which is why you have woody vegetation coming back. And this was another one of those areas similar to the other rock slope, where even if we weren't coming in with the site development, geotechnical engineers would recommend that you keep that slope cleared based on the proximity of the existing building. I don't know if that'll sway the board one way or the other, but it is something that we did want to point out. If you don't include the invasive species of trees or the trees for public benefit or brownfield, we're removing 94 caliper inches of trees. That was the number that we reported to you last time. Your question was, what is the caliper inch of removal if we do include those invasive species of trees shown in red on my screen? That goes up to 263 caliper inches. The other thing that we said we would do was we would look to maximize plantings on the site. So we went back to the drawing board. We took a look at along Central Avenue. One of the things we talked about last time was we didn't have a very aggressive planting plan specifically with trees along Central Avenue, because in order to get the trees to root properly, we would need to do structural soil, which might extend over the property line, which was something that didn't seem to concern anybody at the last meeting. And it's just a discussion point we wanted to have. So we are now proposing trees along Central Avenue. We will be putting them in tree pits with structural soil because there is an adjacent sidewalk in close proximity and we want to make sure the trees survive. We did look at planting trees in this corner here. Again, we have a retaining wall, the access to the 4th level of the parking garage. There's a small area in here where we added trees. We did increase the size of the calipers of the trees wherever we could, and we thought it was appropriate. So for instance, along the south side of the kill where we have our planters, we had 2-inch caliper trees proposed. We increased that to 3-inch caliper. We also made sure that we maximized tree planting in this area. We were able to get a tree on the corner. We couldn't push farther towards the intersection because of site distance. We're not allowed to plant within this 30-foot zone, this site triangle here. We did add, we did look and we kept the tree here on the other side of the entrance to the parking garage. We have to keep this path clear for fire department access. That's something that's important to the fire department, and they did tell us to keep that area clear, and we're currently working with them, and I'll touch on that in a minute. We've talked previously about planting within the walls of the kill, and Kellogg Sessions was very clear with us and very clear with the board that because that is a regulatory floodway, they do not recommend that we put any plantings within the walls of the kill. We did add a tree right on the other side of the fire department access and continued that theme along Water Street, and again, increasing the size of the calipers there. We were able to add a couple small trees in this area of the property, and we increased the size of shrubs and plantings wherever we could. We also took a look here along where we're landing the Sing Sing Kill Greenway extension, and we added some trees in. Last time we were before you, we had 98 caliper inches of trees proposed. We are now up to 150. Again, we think we've planted this pretty heavily. We're open to board comments. It's something we're going to continue to work with the board on. One thing that's not included in the 150 caliper inches is the green roof. We have not developed a planting plan for that, so there will be additional trees and shrubs on top of the green roof, which aren't accounted for yet. But what we're really asked to do, which I think we've brought back to you, is show where the invasive species are located, provide the increase in caliper inches that the invasive species would result in, and that goes from 94 caliper inches being removed to 263. We were also asked to look at how we could increase tree planting on the site. Again, we did that by increasing trees along Central Avenue, increasing the size of the trees throughout the site, and we increased what we are replanting from 98 caliper inches to 150. I'll quickly just mention we had a meeting with the fire department. We were asked to take a look at developing a turning maneuver to see if they could pull in and back on the bridge to get the rear of their aerial apparatus closer to the building. We have run those maneuvers and we're reviewing them with ownership right now. And it's something that we are going to be meeting with the fire department this week on. And again, we think, based on the maneuvers I ran, we are going to be able to pull that truck in and shift and back up to this portion of the bridge. We may slide the bridge about 3 feet downstream, but we do think we can accommodate their request, and hopefully after we meet them Thursday, they'll be satisfied. So that being said, if you have any questions, we're here to answer.
I think this is helpful. Jaime, were there comments, additional comments from the arborist that we should just kind of take into consideration as we're looking at this?
Yeah, so I mean, the comments from the arborist were the ones that I covered today. We'll get those out to you. I think that the goal here, at least for tonight, is about trying to make a determination about whether you can move forward with seeker as the final details of the planting plan move forward. And I think that it's our, at least from the staff side, belief that you can sort of defer on a final decision with the planting plan and termination with the understanding that the negative declaration is going to require a tree permit and an acceptable planting plan that is deemed acceptable by the planning board by the end of this process. So, we kind of know the extent of the loss of the trees, and we also know that the board would like to see as many trees replanted as possible on site. Obviously there have been other instances where you've deferred and said, well, we'll allow for some offsite plantings. That piece of the discussion hasn't really been had at this point. And so I think it's kind of a determination for the board to say, well, this is what you can do on site. Let's see if that's enough, or if we want more, let's look at alternative options there and how to get to that. But I think that the applicant has demonstrated, at least in the conversations that we've had up to this point, they're willing to sort of continue to move the process forward and accept the decision of the board on the mitigation plan. I don't want to speak out of turn here, so I defer to Rich and Jim and Chris to confirm that last statement.
Also, under secret, what you're finding at this point is that the project will not result in any potential significant adverse environmental impact. If you go ahead with the negative declaration, that doesn't mean there aren't still details of the plan to be worked out. There's still a whole long process to go through. But if you're comfortable that based on the information that you have and what they've said they will do and what they already have done, you're comfortable sort of reaching that conclusion.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks, Linda. I mean, I think that this plan's a really nice step forward. I mean, the amount of trees that are surrounding the site plan right now compared to where it was before, I think is, I mean, in the context of this conversation, just in general, I think is a big improvement. I think it makes it easier for us to have this conversation and look at this. I read over, the language, Linda, I guess what you're talking about before too, is the language in the draft neg deck, I think really speaks to I think it puts it maybe in exact words, but just that the applicant will sufficiently mitigate the loss of trees. And I think just looking at this objectively, given the condition of the site right now, given the brownfield status, given the way that it's used and where how the trees are distributed on the site as well. I mean, it's going to be bringing trees into places where they aren't right now. I think it's going to be, I think from my opinion is that from a secret perspective, that particular issue, I think I'm satisfied. And I agree. I think that there's probably a little more work to be done and some decisions to be made. But from the bigger secret perspective, I think that the changes that have been made over the last couple of meetings have been helpful, positive, and I think this works. I'd like to open this up to the board members just to share their opinions as well.
This is Eric Talbot, and I would agree with the chair. I think that I appreciate the hard look that the applicant has taken, and thank you, Rich, for listening to us and working with the applicant or the owners and coming up with a revised plan. And I think this is a movement in a positive direction, and I don't want to duplicate efforts of reviewing things when we still have further to go, and the applicant has further to go in terms of lining up, getting all their ducks in a row for financing and ramping whatever they their particular needs are. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So a moment ago, I did, full transparency, if the board would like, I can read the notes from the arborist. I would only note that there's sort of middle of the process comments. I think that, there's still going to be some more back and forth. I would assume that changes will be made. And, there'll probably be more comments on those changes. So, but I can read them to the board if the board would like me to.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So let me just share my screen so y'all can read along with me. Regarding 30 Water Street, after our meeting on 7/22, I went down and revisited the site with the tree removal plan dated 4/7/22 in hand. My brief comments will elaborate on the comments I made in my previous letter dated 6/27/2022.
Jaime, just to clarify, when he did this, he did not have their revised plan.
He did.
Because he refers to the plan dated 4/7. Or was that supposed to say 7/4?
I think it's probably supposed to say 7/4. He did have the revised plan. I gave it to him. He came into my office and then went back in. So that was the plan they had just sent in. So along Main Street, starting at 37 and going up towards 65, there is potential for planting 2/3 of the way up the hill as it is flat. I actually think it's 7/14, by the way, not 7/4. But anyways,
7/7.
yeah. So there's flat and adjacent to the fence. There are currently no evergreen in this entire vegetated area. The enforcer might be wise to plant some evergreens along the fence line for future screening of the tall building from the road and the sidewalk. These plantings would not be directly under the utility wire, so I don't see this as an issue. There are several female mulberries and an apple that should be saved as they are a wonderful food source for wildlife. I could mark these trees if a tree contractor doesn't know their tree species. Along the stream, I highly recommend shade trees be planted along the edges, especially the south side, so the water is shaded best as possible to moderate temperature. I looked at the situation, I feel that there could be large planters secured to the top of the stream wall on both sides that could accommodate small trees or large shrubs that could help with shade and the beauty of the kill. These planters might be subject to tidal surge in the future, but there is a chance the soil could be flushed with fresh water to remove most of the salinity. Along the future walkway that heads up the hill along the kill, trees have been noted which ones to take down. It would be wise to do another reevaluation of the adjacent trees so that they are dealt with before a finished walk is in place. And I think that last comment, it's not exactly clear, but when we were having a discussion, he was just concerned about the safety of any pedestrians on the walkway. So just making sure that there are no trees that could fall down in the future. So sort of looking on both sides of the walkway to ensure that safety.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. And these comments are consistent with the feedback that he gave during our last meeting. And I think consistent with the conversation that we just had a moment ago, just looking at the process and making sure that all of the concerns of the arborist and this board are being mitigated in the site plan. So I think it's helpful to hear that.
Yeah, the only thing I would note about the arborist comments here is that there are competing interests in this instance of, trees, engineering, safety for the building, as well as the fire department's desire to have, a clear path. And so I think it is important for the board to understand all of those competing interests and sort of make a decision on the direction that you're going to want to go as you're making your determination on site plan, because there's no way that you're going to be able to successfully adhere to all of the, the comments that the arborist gave and satisfy the desire of the fire department for one. And, there are engineering concerns, which, Joe Tremelli's not here, but I think that there might be some legitimate engineering concerns about leaving trees up there. I defer to the engineers to really provide more feedback on that. So.
And it's the board's job to balance and weigh the competing interests, but obviously where you have engineering concerns and fire safety concerns, those are could be life safety type of issues.
Well, I would say, given that we are only partway through this, that it probably doesn't make any sense to really discuss it much further tonight until things are kind of further fleshed out on the tree issue.
I think you can make a decision on seeker today, and with the understanding that the site plan is going to have to deal with the tree permit. So
yes, agreed.
So let me, I can sort of explain to you what you got from me, what I drafted, based on our prior discussions. What you need to do under seeker is take those items where you've identified a potential impact and sort of provide an analysis and a reason why you think it won't be a significant adverse impact. So what I've put together here was identify from when you went through the part 2 and the discussions that you've had at the last several meetings, identified those areas where there was a concern about potential impacts, and put together the discussion of what's been done to address those impacts and mitigate them, and why the board feels that they are not going to be potential significant adverse impacts. So I know the board, everybody's had the weekend to sort of look at that. Happy to take any comments, add any additional things that anybody thinks should be added. I don't know if the applicant had any comments on it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a very accurate reflection of the many conversations that we've had on this portion of the review. And I don't have anything to add or change right now.
Nor did we, Linda.
So, okay. So I see
Guess
a
I
lot
did a
of-
good job.
I guess you did. You got us all quiet here. I do see shaking heads. So, yeah, I mean, are there any other, before we kind of move forward with the public on this application, are there any other last words or comments that the board want to make on the draft that we've looked at?
Not at this time.
Not at this point. I'm okay with everything we have on here for now. Looks good.
Okay. Good. So I think then with that, I think this would be a good time to open up to reopen the public hearing on the SECRA determination for this project. Can we have a motion to do that?
Michael Aronson, motion to reopen the public hearing on the secret determination.
Bobby Bowker, second that motion.
Any objections? No objections. The motion passes. We're now in the public hearing. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? If you are, you can raise your hand using the hand raise function. I don't see any hands being raised. Jaime, have you received any new public comments?
Not that I can recall. I'm going to ask Jamie to say if she has seen any, but I don't believe so.
All right.
No, I have not.
All right. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't see any public comments, any new public comments on this application right now. So in my opinion, I think we'd be ready to close the public hearing on the SECRA portion of this review. If the board is in agreement, we could have a motion on that. Linda, I don't know, your green light lit up. Were you about to say something there?
No, except that you don't really, this action under secret doesn't really require a public hearing.
Okay.
I know you take public comment sort of through the whole thing, but it's not really a separate public hearing.
Okay. So, I mean, since we opened one, I guess we can close it if we're not required to have it, but just in case. Can we have a motion then?
Eric Talbot, to make the motion to close the public hearing.
Bobby
Is it
Bowker,
Bobby?
second that motion. Sorry,
so
Isabel.
it's seconded. Any objections? No objections. So the secret portion of this public hearing is closed. So yeah, I mean, I think we've discussed this. I think we are where we are with this. I think we've got a really good draft in front of us. So I think from my perspective, we're ready to move forward with the negative declaration. So I would propose that one of the board members motions to approve the draft negative declaration.
Bobby Bowker making a motion to approve the draft neg deck.
Michael Aronson, second.
And Jaime, can we do a roll call?
Seth Roy,
Aye.
Michael Aronson,
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen,
Aye.
Dinah Aaron,
Aye.
Bobby Bowker,
Aye.
Eric Talbot,
Aye.
Ulysses Castillo.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 7-0. All right, so that's great. So I think that's where we are with this application for this evening. And then, as we see you next time, we can move forward with the other components of the review.
We appreciate your work to date and we look forward to next steps.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we are going to now go back in our agenda. We had, I think, the first item C on the original agenda, which is BAR 07-2022, which is 13 Ryder Road. I believe that the applicant is now here. So we had a explanation of this earlier on in the meeting. This is a BAR application, a front yard addition. And I think since we already had that explanation, Jaime, if you could bring the applicant in and they can give their presentation.
Yep, we got George Georgiadakis. If you could take yourself off mute. George, you're off mute. Try to talk.
We're still having issues with his audio.
Still having issues. Can't hear you. If you can't get in, you did call earlier. Wait,
He's connecting to audio now, let's say.
It did not connect.
He called in earlier, right? He was working then.
If this doesn't work, then maybe we we could suggest Mr. George Giordakis that you maybe call in. Oh, I see an image.
It's getting better.
You can leave that video feed on, and on a separate phone call, you can dial in using the number that Jaime provided on the agenda. That might be a way of connecting this.
I will, George, I'm going to email you the phone number right now. Okay, George, I've sent you a dial-in number. You want to call in? Call in right now.
You know, I think what we can do right now, while the applicant is trying to dial in, if we can, I know we left off at the beginning. We didn't have a quorum to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Maybe we could do that in the interim while we're waiting for this applicant to join in. So I guess I know Michael and Bobby were not present at the last meeting. Actually, don't have the full attendance list in front of me, but I think that we do have a quorum though. So if we can have, see if I can, sorry, I've got like too many screens open. I can't pull up the attendance list on those last minutes. I don't. It's like it's buried under there somewhere.
I have it here, Seth. It says you were present, Nina, David Chow, Isabel, Ulysses, and Carla.
Got it. All right. So then we do have myself, right? So everybody but Bobby, Michael, and Eric were there. So I think if we can, if one of those remaining folks can motion to approve those minutes, if you've read them and are comfortable with them.
Isabel Wynn, motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last BAR session.
Second, either Nina or Ulysses.
Ulysses, second the motion to approve the minutes.
All right, and I guess we'll do a roll call because we're on Zoom. Jaime, so just between those, the four of us who were present, Isabel, Nina, myself, and Ulysses, do a roll call.
Seth Roy.
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen.
Aye.
Nina Aaron.
Aye.
Ulysses Castillo.
Aye.
All right, so the minutes are passed, 4-0. And we're still waiting for this applicant to be.
I think he's in now. I've added him. George.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Excellent.
My apologies to the board. I've been having connectivity issues all evening. I apologize.
No worries. You're here now. So if you want to give us a presentation of your project, I think Jaime can share his screen.
Sure. It's 13 Ryder Road. It's the proposed two-story addition at the front of the building. On the first floor, there's going to be an expanded living room, and on the second floor, it's a couple of added bedrooms. The addition on the exterior is going to match the existing. I had sent over some.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to pause for a second. Jaime, are you trying to share your screen?
Yeah, George, are you able to see what we're showing you here?
I could see all you guys. Yes, I could see on the screen.
You can see.
It's just that I'm in. I'm sorry, again.
All right, yeah, no, because I just want to make. I'll go ahead and share the screen according to what you're talking about. I just want to make sure you can see it. So it's not.
I can see it. Yes. Thank you for bringing it up. So yeah, here's the site plan. The addition is a 16 by 20 addition at the front of the home. And like I said, the first floor is going to be an expanded living room. The second floor is a 2-bedroom addition. And the exterior is basically going to match the existing, where you have a fieldstone veneer at the base of the building there. And then we have the siding above. Jaime, I think I sent you a revised drawing. There you go. Yeah. So these are the elevations at the right side and the left side of the property. And I had sent you a revised elevation as you requested for the front of the property. But basically, it's a simple 2-story addition. There is a small crawl space at the, right below, adjacent to the staircase there at the front of the home. And then it's really matching the existing what's there on the home. There's a Spanish tile roof. There's a wood siding on the second floor, and then on the first floor we're going to match the fieldstone that's already on the home.
Is that the material list? Jaime, or we can use this.
And these are pictures of the existing. So when we get an applicant, I asked them if there was any like particular materials that they're using. He said he's sort of using cedar siding, painted exactly the same cedar shake siding, and fieldstone veneer. So not like a manufactured product, but actual fieldstone, and then Spanish tile that's identical to the existing material that's already there. Nothing else is changing about the property other than this addition to the side.
I saw there were a couple of arched windows on one of the return walls of the addition. Are those going to be the same as Anderson windows with an arch top, or are those double hung?
Yes, they are. I didn't send over that cut sheet, but I can if you'd like to see it. But yes, they are the Anderson windows.
Okay, so that's I just wanted clarification on that. So it's the same window fabricator. It's the same frame and color.
Yes.
Are they true arch tops, or is it square on the interior?
No, I believe they are the true arch tops. I have on the floor plans. I have the model number. I just don't. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. But I can send over.
I think that's okay. I think we just want clarity for this review in terms of what that is. I think you can send that over to Joe as far as your building permit review. I just wanted to understand that. Unless board members feel differently. Board members, questions on this?
How big is the addition square footage wise?
It's 16 by 20. So
times 2, right? 2 floors, so like 600. Okay.
Yeah, put on the site plan. Amy, I don't know if you want to bring it up. I have that information all on the site plan.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, 640 square feet. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there's more than enough parking to accommodate the 2 additional bedrooms on site, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the site plan, Amy asked me to blow it up, but this property is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the property. There's a frontage on Ryder Road, but the property is very deep. There's a long driveway.
Yeah.
Kind of away from everything. The house is on Sunset Drive, or on the rear.
So I prepared a staff report that shows the sort of extent of the property. You can see it's this is the house here. It's pretty small in this very big picture. So the size of the property itself is almost 3 acres.
Wow.
And it's a single family home on a 3-acre property. The applicant will need to go and apply to the building department for a wetlands permit because it's in a check zone. It doesn't appear that it's in a wetland, but it is in a check zone. So the property itself, not the structure that's being proposed. But they'll still need to file with the building department to go through that process. It's just like-
Understood.
And Jaime, no other, the building department has looked at this, and there's no other zoning or any other kind of variances that would be required based on.
No, yeah, so they looked at the plan as proposed, it doesn't require any variances. I mean, obviously, it's not anywhere close on the impervious surface. So yeah, it's a single family home in a single family district. So
Are there gonna be any chicken coops inside the new addition as well?
we were getting to the comments.
Before we talk about the chickens, I'm a little confused about the arched windows. Those are existing or those are part of the addition?
Part of the addition.
Those are part.
Okay, and so then in the specs that you showed, you were just showing standard rectangular windows. So that's the part I'm a little confused about. These arched windows, and what will they be, Anderson? I mean, are they
They will be, I'm sorry, the cut sheets I sent over were for the 2 windows at the 2nd floor where
Right.
the bedrooms are. I could send over the cut sheets for the arched windows and the bay window at the front if you'd like. The model numbers are on the plans, but I could forward that information. It's not
Yeah,
a-
I
not-
just
not a problem.
curious if that was a standard window or if it had to be built,
No,
constructed
it's a
especially.
catalog, standard catalog Anderson window.
Okay.
I'm just curious why you decided on the arched windows when the rest of the house doesn't have any.
It was really the owner's preference on that. They liked that style of window. It doesn't really face anyone's property, it kind of faces 9A. So it was really just the owner's preference on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super, you don't see it anywhere else in the house, but I also, with the stonework, the arches and the stones don't seem to be offensive to me. It seems to be, I kind of feel like it works. It's the same divided light pattern that they have in the other windows. So I don't necessarily see that as problematic.
I want to give, the board sort of like the comparable side shots here. So
that's helpful.
You can see, so this right here, this part of the building corresponds with this. So you can see kind of the garage door, how they correspond in the 2 locations. So you can't really see, but it sort of goes up. And then the walkway, let me use my annotation tool here. So, this walkway is essentially right here. And then the building itself, the structure would kind of come out on the side here. So you can see this house right here, that house is actually on Sunset. The window faces towards 9A. So the perspective from just from the survey, I can pull that up, or not the survey, but the site plan. So that window is those they're facing this direction towards 9A.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
So-
on the west elevation.
Can I ask, so on the existing site plan with the addition, are the windows changing? You're showing like multi-paned uppers on the new drawings on this part of the facade, and are you changing these windows on this part of the building?
Not on the existing portion of the building.
Yeah,
nothing
because
being changed.
you've got the 8 over the single pane. Okay, oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong. No, the part with the garage, isn't that the garage, or those? This picture here with the garage.
Yeah, so this is the garage. This is the other side of the garage. So the garage is right here.
Right, but I'm looking at the drawings to the right of the garage. and they're showing, the one with the addition on it is showing 8 panes over single panes on the windows. And I'm just wondering, and the windows, are those
I
changing?
see. I see what you're saying. No, they're not. It's actually rendered incorrectly. I could fix that on the elevation.
Okay.
So those windows are staying, the ones that you're looking at there on
Yes,
the
that's
left
what I
side.
would. But then on the
Yes.
addition, you will have the 8 over the single panes on the upper story.
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay.
I mean, these are the ones at the existing windows are like more. I'm not sure if they're the same type Andersons. I think they're the older 200 series. I think these are the new 400s we're going to go with on the addition. But we could look at.
I mean, those
I mean,
8
is there-
panes really are just like a plastic insert that get slotted in, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
all that is. You can
Exactly.
take them on, leave them on, whatever you want
Right,
to do with them.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just curious because there was a difference and I wasn't sure whether that was changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just look at the opposite side of the addition, just the one that's facing the Sunset neighborhood?
Yeah, so that is, we don't have a photo of that picture, of that side of the property. I mean, I guess we sort of do, this is that picture, so you can see here, let me just show you, this is the addition right here. So all of that is brand new, and then you can see this chimney here and here. Obviously, it's rendered as if the chimney is in brick, but it's not actually in brick, it's stuff.
So it's the back of the house now and kind of the back of the house after is what it's looking like.
It's kind of technically the side of the house, but yeah, it's sort of.
I mean that more just kind of like functionally, it's the blank facade.
Correct. Yes, fine. Yeah.
Just in terms of gutters and downspouts on the addition, I don't know if those are drawn in, but where would you be carrying all of that?
And so the gutters and the downspouts, I believe, are rendered on, if they're, but I showed them on there. If not, we're if you look on the site plan, we're coming down the side of the house and we're putting 2 dry wells in site for the storm retention. Noted on the site plan.
It's the same white aluminum gutters that you have on
Yeah.
the main house.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the rendering here, you can see there is a gutter rendered here.
Got it.
And then the other side, I don't see a gutter rendered on the other side, but there are, obviously existing gutters they could tie into. Let me pull up the site plan.
I could put those gutters into. I could add them to the drawing. But yes, they will match the existing. They're white gutters and leaders. Yeah, you can see the dry wells. We provide the calculations on the drawing.
Okay.
Can everybody see the dry wells?
Yeah.
Here?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all clear. Okay. I mean, any other comments on the design from the board before we go to a public hearing?
No, I'm okay with it.
I do have one comment. Since you're building the new extension, typically when you put in new materials, it's going to look a little bit different from the existing. Are you intending to paint the wood siding for the new and existing so it all matches, or what's the intention there?
Well, the intention is to use the same material. You are correct. The lots will probably vary a little bit, but we're going to try to, as close as possible to the same lot. If it becomes, an issue, then they would consider painting it. I don't think that would be an issue to make it all match.
Okay.
All right, can we open this up? Can we have a motion to open this up to the public?
Michael Aronson, oh, sorry, Bobby.
Bobby Bowker making a motion, open a public hearing. Sorry, Michael.
It's okay. Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections. The motion passes. We are in a public hearing. So I will ask right now if there's anybody in the attendees list from the public to speak to this application. You can use the hand raise function on in your Zoom app to signal that you would like to speak. I'll give everybody a moment to raise their hands. There's only a handful of people in the list right now. I don't see any hands. So I know there was some public commentary that we received on the agenda. So Jaime, if you would.
Yes, there are two letters. They're pretty similar, but I will read them both. First one is from Merrill P. Casey at 41 Sunset Drive in Austin, New York. And they wrote, "Good evening. I received notification of application for BAR 07-2022. I'd like to know if this front yard addition application has any relation to the chickens and loud roosters that are now residing on the property at 13 Ryder Road and walking on the adjacent properties. The chickens are impacting the domestic animal and the wildlife in the area, and there has been an increase in fox and coyote activity. Does the owner intend to continue to maintain chickens and roosters on this property, or will they be relocated when this work is being done after the addition is complete? Thank you in advance for your prompt reply, Merrill B. Casey." The next one was, I received notification of an application BAR 722. I would like to know if this application for front yard addition is related in any way to the chickens that are now residing on the property at 13 Ryder Road and walking on the adjacent properties. The recent influx of chickens are impacting the wildlife in the area, and there has been an increase in fox and coyote activity. Does the owner intend to continue to maintain chickens on this property, or will they be relocated when this work is being done? Thanks, Ruth Reagan.
Okay.
So I will note here that obviously this is a BAR application and not a site plan application. However, chickens are not allowed in the village of Ossining. And so this concern was forwarded to the building department and code enforcement. And so, for the applicant, if they're listening, chickens, roosters, all of them, none of them are allowed in the village.
All right.
I understand that, and all I could say is this must be very recent, and I'm not sure when this happened because every time I was there and met with the client and went through the design, and there was no roosters or chickens there. So this is something real recent. I will definitely talk to them. They're actually away on a trip, and we will rectify the situation, I'm sure.
Sure, and that's fine. That's something that your client and code enforcement can take up. That's not something we really need to talk about here. Okay, so I mean, before we close this public hearing, I mean, just to get a sense, I know that we've asked a couple of questions. Do we feel comfortable that these are conditions of an approval, or does anybody want to see a revised drawing before we move forward? Maybe we can just do it. If anybody has any thoughts on that, or feels like we need more, it would be helpful to hear that now before we close the public hearing.
I'm okay with the materials, the finishes, and the size and the scale of everything. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I would be comfortable moving forward. I mean, are there any conditions that we want to specify? I'm not clear. Based on our discussion, if we actually have conditions.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, your question regarding the windows and just just clarifying that the new windows will be the 8/1s,
right?
As opposed to the in that there's a mismatch, essentially a mishmash of windows on the existing property. Just clarifying that we're looking at that in that context.
Right.
And I think there's the question about the paint that the
Yes.
homeowner will repaint if they can't find the right match. And I think there was, maybe
I do have one question that I think the board should consider here.
Yeah.
And it's something I wish I had asked before, but the site plan shows a demolition of something on the property, and I would like the applicant to clear up what what's being demolished and what's being replaced.
So-
because- Go ahead.
So
yeah.
that,
Can you share that drawing? Sorry, Jaime, can you just put that up in front of us so we know where?
Yeah, let me share the screen. So,
so the survey, just while you're doing that, the survey I received from the owner showed a extension, a little story extension garage at the left side of the property. That is no longer there, and we are actually getting a new survey to show the actual condition.
So I guess
So
the
that-
question,
so are you talking about this? I see a one-story addition here. That's this right here. Is that? been
I'm not, can you, I can't see it. Can you, is there any way to move it to the left a little bit?
Yeah. All
It
right.
says existing one-story extension. It points to it on the site plan. It's
Yeah,
not there.
I can see it on the site plan. I mean, it's
Yeah.
right here on the site plan.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
That-
I'm
that's
trying to
not-
see it on a picture. That's more of what I'm trying to get a sense, because all I can see on the picture is this thing right here.
If you go to the, yeah, this elevation here, you see where that
Is it this
garage
right here?
door? No, it was in front of the garage door. You see the garage door there? There
Yeah.
was a little one addition there, and it's not there anymore.
Okay, so the survey is just not up to date. So it was right here.
And we're getting a surveyor out there to update the, the entire survey.
So nothing is getting demolished?
Nothing's getting demolished, no. Just the survey that I was given by the owner actually showed that existing one-story extension there, but
Sounds like it was already demolished.
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
It's gone.
it's not there, so
Alright.
that's why it's on the site plan, and then we'll submit a revised survey.
Okay, this is my question.
okay. That's helpful. Thanks, Jaime. Okay, so having heard all of that, we're still in a public hearing. If we could start off with maybe a motion to close the public hearing.
Isabel Wynn, motion to close the public hearing.
Anna Aaron, second.
Any objections? No objections, the motion passes, public hearing is closed. Yeah, so from hearing from everybody, it sounds like we're in a position to move forward here. I think just a moment ago, we outlined 2 conditions. I think, I don't know that, would we, as far as the new survey, I think that's something that they'll need to do for building permit. That's not really something that's relevant to our BAR conversation. So are there any other conditions or thoughts? Yeah, I see it.
Just a quick question. Do we need in our approval to say anything about the requirement to file for the wetlands permit, or is that out of the purview of BAR?
It's not about purview. They're gonna have to file when they file for the building permit. So it'll come up at that time, but I just wanted to make sure they were aware and that you were aware, in case it was a concern.
All right.
Yes.
I'm fine.
Okay. I guess then can someone put forward a motion for approval?
Eric Talbot, I make the motion for BAR approval for 13 Ryder.
In a second. Yep, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, man. Eric, I'm sorry, Eric.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I was just going to say road.
Gotcha.
Yes, apologies.
All good. And can we have a second?
Isabel Wynn, I second the motion.
And Jaime, a roll call.
Seth Roy,
Aye.
Michael Aronson,
Aye.
Isabel Nguyen,
Aye.
Nina Aaron,
Aye.
Robert Bowker,
Aye.
Eric Talbot,
Aye.
Ulysses Castillo.
Aye.
All right, and the motion passes 7-0. So very good. All right, so thank you, George. And I think that's it, right? We went back, we dealt with the minutes. So I think that does it for our agenda. So just thanks,
There are a
everybody.
bunch of adjourned items. If you'd like updates on the adjourned items, I could give them. If not,
You know, maybe it'll be helpful because we're not going to see each other for a while, but if just like a brief, just kind of a brief update on the salient points. I know, there's a handful on there too.
Yeah, so for 72, 74 Broadway, it's the multifamily with the garage in the back. We're sort of waiting for additional public. Some additional public comments have been uploaded for the board's review, but we're adjourned while we're awaiting updated submissions from the applicant. So that's why it's not on this month. For 65 Main Street, that's the 5-unit property with the restaurant on the bottom on Main Street. The matter is adjourned while we're waiting for some updated submissions from the applicant, including a SWIP and a grading plan. The application is also going to require review by the Westchester Planning Board, so it's been forwarded to them for their review. And the EAC needs to review it for its conformance with the LWRP. So we're kind of waiting on those items right now. For Planning Board 7/2021, 173, 175 North Highland. The applicant is seeking site plan approval for proposed construction of a gas station convenience store. This matter is adjourned while we're awaiting updated submissions from the applicant, including updated drawings in response to comments from the fire department, as well as the following open items. The tree removal and planting plan needs to be updated. I met with arborist last week, and so he's going to be providing some updated comments over the next couple of weeks. But his main comment so far was that there were too many of the same species of trees, which were grouped together, increasing the likelihood of a mass die-off if one of the trees is infected. He had some further comments that he's probably going to be adding over the next couple of weeks. He's also going to go out to the site to verify that the current tree removal plan doesn't have any trees that are listed as staying that are actually already cut down. So that's happened once with his plan. So we're going to have to send him back out there to verify that again to make sure that we don't have that issue. We've also requested feedback from the DOT on this project. So the last correspondence that we have is that the DOT was requesting updated plans. So we would like to get a verification prior to completing seeker that DOT in fact does have the most up-to-date plans, and see if they have any comments, if they want to comment before anything is closed on that. The next is 14 Water Street. So the applicant is seeking site plan and BAR approvals for construction of mixed-use building. So currently the matter is adjourned while we're waiting updated submissions from the applicant due to some open items, including the proposed interior layout of the project, which includes an area that is currently listed as residential, which is incompatible with code language in the conditional use permit as it relates to the following provisions. So the conditional use permit says that no part of any residential unit shall be located on the ground floor or in a basement. And the definition of ground floor is that the lowest floor of a building having its entire floor to ceiling height above grade, which means that the plan as submitted is not in compliance with the code. So they have been informed of this issue and they are mulling it over. I don't know what they're doing right now, but they've been informed of this issue. Next project is 63 South Highland Avenue. This is the applicant who wanted to do the basement apartment with a couple of parking spaces in the front yard. They're seeking a conditional use permit for the proposed additional basement, as well as site plan approval for the proposed parking area in the front yard, which requires crossing the neighbor's property for ingress and egress from the spaces. The matter is currently adjourned while we're waiting updated submissions from the applicant, including a survey which indicates the location of the easement area on both properties, and to prepare a meets and bounds description of the easement area, which should be a schedule to the easement agreement. That way you can review that, and at that point you can make a decision on those. For Riverwalk, the applicant is seeking a site plan approval and conditional use permit, BAR approval, and a wetlands permit for the construction of 48-unit residential apartment building. The matter is adjourned while awaiting updated submissions from the applicant, including a tree mitigation plan and additional engineering documents related to the proposed sewer line connection. And then for 80 Main Street, which is the last item on the list, the applicant is seeking site plan approval for proposed construction of a retaining wall. The matter is adjourned while awaiting updated submissions from the applicant, including updated site plan reflecting comments from the fire department. A structural engineer has also been engaged to review the proposed retaining wall, and a request has been made to the applicant to provide structural calculations relating to the design. And that's a lot of adjourned items, but that's the update.
It is, though we don't have any adjourned items from today to all the new business was, I think, resolved today. So that was a good thing. All right, awesome. So thanks, everybody. I think it's just a reminder, so we don't have a meeting in August. So the next time we all get together, it'll be fall. So enjoy the rest of your summers, and
So no work sessions either? Sorry, Seth.
Yeah, we don't have any scheduled right now, correct?
Okay.
No, we don't have any scheduled work sessions because it would made a whole lot of sense to have that and then wait another 6 weeks for meeting. So we didn't schedule one for this month, or at least we didn't schedule one for next month. And we, at this point, haven't, no plans on scheduling one for the beginning of September. Although I would say that if it becomes clear that we need another work session, then we'll reach out to you well in advance to let you know that we want to set one up. But as of right now, there's no plans for any in August or in September.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thanks.
So
Enjoy
your
the rest
time
of the summer, everybody.
Yeah, enjoy your summer,
You as well.
everyone.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
cool.
Enjoy your
Have a
summer.
great
Want to enjoy
summer.
their summer.
But I also just really quickly want to thank the board. I mean, y'all have really, more than any of my other boards, you put in so many extra time, extra days, and work sessions and everything else. So, I know you're going to be missing us for a month, but you've more than made up for it with all the additional work sessions you've already done, are probably set to do as this year continues on. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Just
Thank
a
you.
question, did we actually close the whole meeting? Did we?
You haven't yet.
We
No.
did,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
That one just, I don't know, went past me.
Good point, Nina.
That is a good point. This was in a meeting that lasted for 3 months, 2 months. So can we have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make
Michael
it.
Aaron, oh, go ahead, Nina.
Nina Aaron, motion to close the meeting.
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections, really? The motion passes. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
In September.
In September.
Bye.
Enjoy August.
Bye-bye.